Medium tanks, the ultimate jack of all trades. While light tanks offer mobility and heavy tanks offer armor, medium tanks are the perfect combo. Basically the tank version of a Swiss army knife. There are over 400 medium tanks in the game and I'm going to rank all of them. In today's video we're checking out medium tanks from 1.0 to 2.7 and I'll be covering the rest in future videos. So like and subscribe and let me know what's your favorite medium tank in the game or the one that makes you cry every time you face it. We're starting off with 1.0 and the first tank on the list is the American M2. The M2 is the only American medium tank at 1.3. It is very fast but it has the agility of a heavy tank. The stopped armor is pretty solid but it can be easily taken down with a well-placed shot to its flat areas. B tier. The Pz.III. Like I said at the beginning of the video, medium tanks have a balance between armor and mobility, but this thing has neither. It has the mobility of a heavy tank and the armor of a light tank. It is not very fast and the armor is very thin, so anything will go through it. It does have a decent cannon, but other than that, it's not good. D tier. The Pz.III. This is an upgrade to the Pz.III-B. It has the same cannon, but the armor and mobility are much better. It is very fast and agile, and the armor is pretty decent for 1.0. It's pretty much like a low-tier tiger. So when you angle it, it's much harder to take down, and most enemies would struggle when facing you. A tier. Pz.III-F. This is basically a Pz.III-E with a bigger cannon. It fires an APHE shell with great penetration, so most of the time you'll just take down your targets with one shot. The reload is a bit longer and the turret is slightly thinner compared to the Pz.III-E, but it is still as fast and survivable. S tier. The Pz.IV. This German machine comes with a 75 cannon that fires APHE, HE and heat. The APHE has a decent penetration and is packed with HE, making it pretty deadly. The heat shell is also pretty strong with great penetration, and the 500 grams of HE filler will always make sure you overpressure your target. However, heat shells don't always work sometimes and they are very slow, so it can be very tricky to hit far targets sometimes. B tier. The Panzerkampfwagen Neubaufahrzeug. This multi-turreted concept tank has a very unique design. It comes with a 75 and a 37 cannon that can punch through most targets and reload quickly. It's got some serious firepower, but it's slow and the armor is unreliable. C tier. The T-28 1938. This Soviet medium tank has a good acceleration for a tank of its size, but it's not that fast. It is very survivable thanks to its 6 crew members and its multi-turret design. However, it's very weak to flanking, especially with how thin the side armor is, and it's very hard to defend from flankers in it. B tier. The T-28. This T-28 variant has all the same specs of the T-28 1938 version, except for a different gun that offers much better penetration. A tier. The Shiha. This Japanese tank doesn't have the best armor, but it makes up for it with decent mobility. It's fairly quick and the gun's not bad either. You get APHE and heat, but the APHE is kinda useless, so I just use heat. It has decent penetration and has enough HE filler so it can overpressure most targets. B tier. The Shiha shotgun. This is basically a Shiha with a 120mm naval gun that fires a big HE shell that will overpressure anything you face, even in up tiers. A tier. The M1340 Series 1. This Italian tank packs a solid gun that can pen most tanks that you'll face, and the quick reload makes it easy to deal with multiple targets. Speed and agility aren't great though, so it works better at close range engagements. The turret armor is decent, but the hull is flat and unreliable. Angling it can make it difficult to pen, but at the same time it exposes the chamfered corners and make you vulnerable. C tier. The D2. This French tank is very tough and bulky. It has a thick armor that makes it a nightmare to face, especially when angled. The gun offers great penetration, but the shells lack HE filler, so you'll need more than 2 shots to take down your target sometimes. Moreover, the D2 feels a lot like a heavy tank with how slow it is, so you'll mostly rely on its armor to survive rather than trying to outmaneuver your enemies. C tier. The Pz.III. This tank is very similar to the D2, but it trades a bit of armor in exchange for speed and agility. Even with the armor downgrade, it's still a tough tank that can take many hits. And I actually like it more than the D2 because it's very survivable and the extra mobility makes it much more versatile. B tier. The A7V. This German World War I bus is very slow and clunky. The The frontal armor is decent, and he has 18 crew members. That's a lot of people. And honestly, that's the key to his survivability. If you get flanked, your crew will keep taking the hits while you try to turn in time, and if you do, you can, you can take down your target while you're having a few crew members to keep the party going. F tier. There are other World War I tanks that were available in the Great War event like the Beutepanzer 4, the Mark V, the St-Chamond. These tanks are pretty similar to the A7V and were decent on the event, but in regular War Thunder game they tend to struggle and are not very survivable. Moving on to 2.0, where we go back to the US tree and starting off again with the M3 This American medium tank feels more like a heavy tank with its bulky design and strong firepower. It comes with two guns, a 37mm in the turret and a hull mounted 75, which is actually the highlight of this tank. I mainly use the 75 since the APHE is really strong, but with how limited it is, it can be impractical sometimes. The 37mm can still help out, but it doesn't hit as hard. And armor-wise, the M3 is decently armored and can take a few hits, but it struggles with flanking, and with the gun setup, it can be hard to defend against that sometimes. A tier. Moving on to Germany with the Pz.IV. This is basically a Panzer IV-C with an improved armor on the hull and sides. The cannon is the same, and the APHE shell struggles with penetrating tanks that have decent armor. And just like the Panzer IV-C, it gets an improved heat shell with a better penetration. C tier. The Panzer IV F1. This is another upgraded Panzer IV variant featuring enhanced armor on both turrets and sides, making it more survivable on the battlefield. While its mobility and firepower remain unchanged, the additional armor means it can take more hits and stay in the fight longer. B tier. The Pz.III. This tank is very strong, equipped with a powerful cannon and solid APHE shells capable of taking down most tanks in a single shot. The Pz.III also gets a decent hull armor, but the weak turret makes it vulnerable. However, it's very fast and agile, so you can flank with it and hit your targets when they least expect it. A tier. Pz.III-1. This upgraded Pz.III gets a stronger cannon and a stronger armor while maintaining the same speed and agility. It fires a strong APHE shell that is capable of taking down any target you face. The balance of armor and mobility makes it flexible, so you can fight head-on and strike from the flanks.
Stop right there, criminal scum!
S tier. The T-28 Ikra. This is essentially a T-28 with additional armor at the front and sides. The firepower and mobility remain the same, and the additional armor makes it more survivable and much harder to take down. A tier. Grant 1. This is basically a British variant to the M3 Both are very similar in performance with a few changes. The Grant 1 has a well-armored turret, and it has 6 crew members compared to the M3 that has 7. A tier. Valentine 1. This British tank feels a lot like the Pz.III. Great armor, but terrible mobility. It's painfully slow, so the enemy will see you creeping toward them while their shells bounce off your armor. The gun is solid and can handle just about anything you face, with the choice between AP for better penetration or APHE that trades penetration for a better post-pain damage. And of course, being this slow means flankers are the biggest weakness for this tank. But with how tough it is, most players will still have a hard time taking it down. B tier. Valentine 11. This tank is basically a Valentine 1 with a much bigger gun. Instead of the small 2-pounder, it's rocking a 75 that has really solid penetration that is enough to deal with almost anything you run into, even in up tiers. The shells don't have any HE filler, but the reload is quick enough and a well-placed shot can cripple or even one-shot most targets. The engine got an upgrade too, though the tank is still painfully slow, so you'll be relying heavily on your armor. B tier. The Kashi. This Japanese boat looks a lot like a pirate ship. It's well armored especially through the front, and the bow works like spaced armor that protects it against heat and HE. However, the armor on the sides is very thin, so LPHE rounds will usually go without detonating, while the thin armor means the tank is vulnerable to SPA and CAS. B tier. The Hoi. This tank comes with decent armor and mobility, making it very survivable. The cannon fires an APHE shell that tends to struggle against well-armored targets, especially at long distances, but it also fires a heat shell with decent penetration that can overpressure lightly armored tanks. The reload is slightly long compared to other tanks at 2.0, but the armor can take a hit so you can stay in the fight while you reload. B tier. The Shi-Ha-Kai. This tank doesn't have a great armor, but it makes up for it with decent mobility. It has a similar speed to its counterparts, but the quick reverse speed can be very handy for getting out of tough situations. The cannon is fairly solid with a quick reload, and the APHE can penetrate most tanks you come across. If you stick to flanking and stay hidden, this tank can be very effective. B tier. The Shi-He. This tank is essentially an upgrade to the Shi-Ha-Kai. It has the same quick reloading cannon, but the armor is better so it can take more hits. It's slower in reverse, but it's faster overall, which makes it a strong brawler that can hold its own in a fight. A tier. The M1340 Series 2 and the M1340 Series 3. Other than one being the premium version, these tanks are basically the same. Compared to the first version, both have a slightly faster reload and an increased vertical guidance, but other than that, there are no significant upgrades. C tier. The M1441. This is somewhat an upgrade to the M1340 with a stronger engine that gives it a better acceleration and makes it a bit faster, but aside from that, it's basically the same. C tier. The premium M1441. This premium variant of the M1440 has the same specs, but it gets a better cannon that can fire APHE rounds with a better penetration. It also gets a hull-mounted 13.2mm MG that can pen most lightly armored tanks, but due to its placement, its traverse is very limited. B tier. The M1542. This tank is a solid step up from the 1441. It packs a stronger cannon that reloads quickly and can punch through most targets it will face, and the stronger engine gives it extra speed to help with maneuverability. On top of that, the armor has been improved and the addition of smoke grenades makes it much tougher to take down in a fight. B tier. The Turan 1. This Hungarian tank is pretty strong. It has a strong frontal armor with the addition of armor skirts on the sides that help protect it against HE and heat attacks. The stabilized cannon offers a pretty decent penetration with the quick reload, and the great mobility of this tank allows it to brawl and flank enemy targets effectively. S tier. The Turan 2. This tank has a clear step up from the Turan 1, featuring a new turret, improved armor and a bigger gun. It can fire APHE rounds with solid penetration and also has the option to use heat shells. While the acceleration is a bit slower, it keeps the same overall mobility and quick reload, making it a well-rounded and effective upgrade. S tier. The Celere Sahariano. This Italian pancake is really unique. The armor is decent, but it's got many weak spots, you don't want to rely on it too much. What really makes it shine is the speed, agility and quick reload, which makes it great for sneaking around and catching enemies off guard. B tier. The Lago 1. The Swedish tank is very solid despite its light armor. It's quick and has a fast reload, and the cannon is pretty reliable, firing AP, APHE and APDS rounds. The APHE doesn't have the best penetration, but it's decent enough, while the APDS is great for longer range engagements or taking on heavily armored targets. A tier. The Strv M42EH. Unlike the Lago one, this tank is pretty well armored, making it tough to take down for most tanks at its BR. It has a strong cannon with great penetration using AP rounds, and it can also fire APHE, which has a lower penetration but has great post-pin damage, and it can overpressure tanks sometimes. S tier. The Pz.IV. This is somewhat an upgraded version of the Strv M42EH. It is essentially the same, but the hull-mounted MG was moved to the top. Other than that, It's just a premium variant, so S tier as well. Alright guys, here is the final tier list. Let me know what nations do you play, and do you want to see an SPA tier list next or the part 2 of the light tanks tier list video? Subscribe.